Welcome to Eldir Online, a solo mmorpg project developed from scratch using Go for the backend infrastructure and Phaser for the frontend infrastructure. Eldir Online is an old-school browser-based mmorpg inspired by a lot of mechanics taken from older mmorpgs with its own unique flair. At the current stage of development, I have finished most of the core engine functionality, which includes things like inventory and equipment management, shop and dialogue systems, combat, skills and basic enemy AI, among some other core features. The game currently uses fairly basic publicly curated sprite and tile sheets with some custom edits. However, long term, as long as my budget allows it, I would like to move more and more towards custom sprites to create a more unique identity for the game. Now that the scripted part's over, it might be a good idea to actually show you some of the game. So when I press I, you can see the inventory screen, which I can move items around. I can equip and unequip items. With a bug there, when I click on an item, it sort of gets a little bit offset, but that's something to work on. I do not have many items right now, but that might be a good opportunity to show you two new things. So loading zones. We can move from one zone to another. Sometimes you'll see a visual bug, especially if the zone is particularly big, but nothing happened so far. We have Alicia, who's an NPC that we can talk to or trade with. So the dialogue system is quite simple. We talk, we get some flags, which can be triggered with certain dialogue options, with certain level options, etc., so that we don't get locked into the same dialogue options all the time. Welcome, traveler. I have never seen you before. I hope my words can keep you safe. Thank you. And then on thank you, of course, it prompts a completely different dialogue. But again, this is all the charm of developing a game and having all the bugs in them. So we can trade. There's some items here we can grab. One thing I want to mention is I have 76 gold. This staff costs 80 gold. So one thing I wanted to show you is that actually this game has two types of skills. It has learned skills, which we'll be able to gain through various skill books, but it also has granted skills where different weapons will grant different types of skills. So in this case, we've got a rusty sword, which provides us with the skill cleave, and the cleave skill deals 7 to 10 physical damage currently with my current strength and based on a physical power scaling. So the cleave spell scales based on my current stats. You can see I have 5 strength. And the way that damage is calculated is we've got the base power of the weapon, in which case it is 1, and then scaling based on our current stats for that particular weapon type. So cleave swords, for the most part, use strength scaling. So this skill scales the damage based on 1.3 times our physical power, which is strength. So we've got 1. Plus 5 is 6 times 1.3, and that gives us a rough range for damage. The basic strike does 1 times physical power scaling, so that's going to give us 4 to 6 physical damage. So now that I've explained it, let me also show you, I'm going to actually sell that sword. And when I sell that sword, I should hopefully have enough gold to buy this staff. So we've got apprentice staff, much less gold now. And if I equip this, we actually get a new skill, Fireball, which does 10 to 13 damage, and it scales based on my intelligence, which is also currently 5, and it scales 1.3 times based on my magical power. So let me just swap those around, and we can go into a zone with some monsters, so I can show you the combat. So currently there is not a big variety of monsters. However, I do plan to extend the content now as I'm going along. So whenever we kill a monster, they have a chance of dropping items as per, typical expectations of MMOs. When we open the bag, we can see the loot bag. We can take any item from that, and that loot bag disappears. Of course, we can also drop items as we please, which puts them on the ground. We can pick them back up. We can split the amount of items that we're going to drop. I should probably improve the actual window, because right now it's using the default sort of browser window for splitting stacks. So we've got a wolf here. I'm gonna switch to a melee attack right now with no skill actually. So we're gonna try to sort of hit the wolf with our bare hands. Hopefully we can kill it without dying. The way the combat works in this game is you sort of have to aim at the enemy, and it is a little bit awkward right now. I'm not awfully happy with how the combat system currently works. I think there's some potential improvements that we could do. But basically, you do have to point and click towards where the monster is. There is no auto attack like you would expect in other games. And of course, for things like bows and staffs, you do have to aim and shot wherever the monster currently is. And you can see that the staff does take some energy. The vision for this game is that there's not going to be any classes. Instead, the build system is going to work based on your stats. So different weapons are going to have different stat requirements. They're going to provide different skills. So someone who, for example, wants to build towards strength and dexterity, there could be some sort of an assassin or some sort of a finesse warrior with things like, short swords and movement-based combat. Someone who would maybe go pure strength would be more of a sort of tanky build. And of course, intelligence, more magey. Pure dexterity build would be more sort of ranger, maybe assassin sort of type of character. And as we kill the monsters, I also want to showcase the leveling up system. I'm going to kill a snail actually, because they give quite a lot of experience right now for testing. So if I level up, I'm going to be able to get some experience points. Some stat points. So for each level that I get, I can allocate 2 points towards my stats, which of course improves my damage and sometimes defensive capabilities as well. So just to demonstrate, right now, my fireball does 10 to 13 damage. Let's say I invest 2 points into intelligence. Now my fireball does 11 to 15 damage. Not a massive increase. However, those numbers are going to scale more and more with better items and significantly higher stat allocation. So one more thing which I thought might be worth showcasing, even though it is still in a fairly unfinished state, as you can see both of my characters sort of look the same, is the character selection screen. So I've got 2 characters, King Arthur and which were created for testing purposes. I can create a new character right now, which opens a fairly nice, I think, character creation screen. There's currently only one base model, which is going to be this sort of humanoid form. I do plan to add some more base models, maybe for different types of fantasy races. You can change your skin color. We've got sort of different hairstyle types, and of course you can customize the colors of all of the appearance and all of the sort of different types of clothing that you want to wear. And if we name ourselves here Epic Warrior, we create a character, and here we appear in the world with our new made character. Okay, so this concludes my first devlog. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any feedback or suggestions, please do feel free to let me know. I am really excited to hear what you have to say and implement any potential improvements that you think could be a good idea for the game.